Hey, welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am a hot Pastor Joe Fox. So I'm building compost bins. I'm going to tell you a story about that and talk about that and see what I'm doing. Initially, see these tires right here? They bugged me. They've bugged me. I did the potato thing where you plant your potatoes, and then when the plant gets up about a foot high, you put a tire over it and fill it with mulch, and then it grows up out of that. You put another tire on it, fill it with mulch, all the way up. And then the theory is that when it's time to harvest potatoes, you just kick over the stack of tires. You don't have to dig, and that whole column is just full of potatoes. Well, the first year I did that, after hauling these tires, which isn't easy, after hauling all these tires out here, I think they were too hot and they baked the potatoes, so they didn't grow. And then the next year I decided, okay, let's paint them light colors. So I painted them white and sky blue and yellow, and I've had these cutesy little tire columns out there, and I thought it would look cute in the garden. And I'm more of a natural guy, not the pastel guy, but we went with it, and it didn't work. So then it got too hot still. And so then I'm like, okay, well, then I made a stack of them in a U shape, and I used it for a compost bin. And I would just throw all my leaves and weeds and everything in there, and turn it into compost. But the tires bugged me. They disturbed my shalom. It doesn't look natural. And so finally today, I went and I got 10 pallets, and I used a system like this in Washington State once, and it worked really good. And what you do is you put 3 pallets next to each other in the back, and then you use 4 pallets, how do I do it this way? Dunk, 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 and I still have to do one more. Across those are the side bin dividers. And then you put 3 pallets in the front. And the way I've got them stacked, the back ones are sideways on a railroad tie. The sideways ones are standing vertically, and then the front ones are going to be sideways on the ground. And so they'll be about this much lower than the side ones, which just makes it easier to get in and out of. The way this is supposed to work is you grab your weeds, and this is a weed, but this is also goosefoot or lamb's quarter, and this is one of the better tasting weeds. We eat this a lot, but we have it growing everywhere. So you take your weeds, anything but meat and dairy products. I even throw dog poop in there, and people say, no, you can't do that. And yet here I am, still living and strong, working, while most people are sitting in a cubicle. And so we take this stuff and you throw it in. That was almost pretty good. Bin number 1. When bin number 1 fills to the top, you take a pitchfork and you start at the top and you flip it over into bin number 2. And so what you end up with is the whole bin number 1 pile is now basically upside down in bin number 2. And then you start filling bin number 1 up again. And then when bin number 1 fills up, you take bin number 2, flip it into bin number 3, which I'm going to build after this video. Bin number 1 into bin number 2, and now you have an empty bin number 1, and you continue the process. And when you have to do it again, the theory, and in Washington State it worked this way, by that point bin number 3 is compost. It's ready to go out on the garden, and the whole thing just keeps continuing. Well, since I've had this compost pile, you can't see it, let me show it to you. I just turned the whole thing. In there, come out here. In there, that's compost. I'm going to put that in bin number 2. I'm going to start out putting that in bin number 2, and then I'll start filling bin number 1, and eventually the whole thing will be flipped into 3 and then out. And so that's what I'm doing. I put stakes in between the middle ones, the dividers, the bay dividers, just to give it a little bit more rigidity, and then I tie it all together with this pink baling twine that you can get like 5 miles for $40 or something at the Tractor Supply Company or other stores like that. And so I've got one more pole to pound, one more side piece to put up. Come on, we'll go look at it this way. I'm gonna have to duck you under the clothesline. Whoop, sorry. Look at it from a different angle. See the bins? So I've got this one end piece to do right here, and then I'll put the front ones on, And then I'm going to shovel fork all this old compost into bin number 2 and spread out. I came in here with that tractor. I used the tractor to move a railroad tie and to move this, what I'm standing on used to be mulched. I just got the mulch out of the way to work. And so then I'll be spreading that stuff back out. And one of these days I'm gonna have to get into this garden. I don't even want to show it to you, it's so weedy. But do what you can with what you got, where you're at. All right. Hey, maybe you can't do this. Maybe your homeowners association won't let you. Compost piles are awesome. I've done them everywhere I lived. I lived in suburbia in Northern Virginia. And I just got a piece of wire. I don't even know where I got it. About this long and about 4 feet high. I don't remember where I got it, but a piece of wire. It probably had holes in it about this big. And where my 2 chain link fences in my backyard came together in a corner, I just made that a triangle. And when I mowed my lawn, I would rake it and I would throw it all in there, and I'd throw my dog poop in there that I scooped out of the yard. And then in the fall, I'd rake my leaves and I'd throw them in there, and I'd throw my dog poop in there. And every now and then I would take that front screen off and flip the whole pile over with a rake. I didn't have a fork then. And then put it back together, and that turned into beautiful dirt, and it got rid of all my grass clippings and dog poop. More importantly, I can't say that I actually ever used that dirt, that compost, to grow anything in. Now that I'm thinking about it, in Northern Virginia, I don't think I did, but it kept it out of the way tidy and turned it into dirt instead of having landmines all over the backyard from a ridgeback. So you can do something like that. Another time I just took a piece of fence with, you know, the holes were about this big in it, a roll of it, and I made a circle about this big around, about this high. And the same thing, I threw the that was in Washington State the first time I lived there. I just threw grass clippings and dog poop in there. And I remember I was at work one day and a guy told me, yeah, they generate a lot of heat, man. And I'm like, because he had one too, and he threw dog poop in his. And I said, no, mine doesn't. He goes, yeah, it does. What are you putting in it? I told him, dog poop and grass. He goes, yeah, it is. I said, no, it's not. He said, go home, turn your rake around backwards and stick the handle into the middle of the compost pile. See what happens. So I did. And when I did that, steam came pouring forth. Just like a tea kettle. So yeah, it was cooking. If you're just doing it for yard maintenance to keep stuff out of the way, if it ever starts getting too high, either put a bunch of dog poop on top of it and hose it down so it kind of slurries down through there, or you can use Miracle-Gro. Make up a mixture of pretty strong Miracle-Gro, pour that on the top, and it just cooks your pile right down to nothing. So that's what I'm doing. I'll show you this angle now of these right here. And then I'm going to move all these tires. I think what I'm going to do with the tires, you know, what do you do with them, right? My ground back here, right pretty much past the grass and where the trees start, drops down precipitously. And what we have found here is if you put anything, a log, a rock, or anything perpendicular to the slope of the hill, so if the hill's coming down this way, up towards you, down towards me, and you put something across it this way, dirt piles up on that and makes a little flat space. And so I think I'm going to take these tires and build a little retaining wall about 7 feet back, 6 feet back off the slope with those, and then eventually dirt will fill that up, and then I'll have more flat space. Something that is at a premium here in the Ozarks. All right, so I've cooled down enough to get back to work. I hope this inspires y'all. It's never too late to start gardening, to start compost pile, to start mulching. Get serious about growing your food. And I guess one more thing, I just watched a video from TJ. He's changed his title name to Squid and Bear, I think. Whatever. He was talking about how before they got their chunk of land, they were living on 1/3 of an acre. And they weren't having a whole lot of, my words for what I took from his video. So if I'm wrong, it's on me, not him. But they weren't having a whole lot of luck finding land, and they were praying. And then, I don't know if they decided or the Father told them, but it's basically, hey, why don't you take care of what you have before you start looking for more? And so with that in mind, they tore into their 1/3 acre and just made it a abundantly productive, you know, catching rain and growing stuff and raising critters, just intensively using that land. Another group of people who they kind of tick me off because they evidently copyrighted the term backyard homestead or urban homestead or something like that, and if people use it, they get their lawyers to send them cease and desist letters. But they're cool from the fact that the Devares, D-E-V-A-R-E-S or something like that. I think they live in Pasadena on a 1/10 of an acre lot, and they just grow so much food there. It's amazing. So yeah, it's never too late to start. Get out there, get your hands dirty. Start working in the soil. All right, I'll see you out there.